Hi, my name's Alyssa. I am the host of Stories and Spoilers, the podcast. This is going to be such a fun episode. I have two guests here. You may recognize Jay from some previous episodes, but you may not recognize one person, and that is Matt. This is M.A. Wardwell. They wrote Teacher of the Year. So if you have read it, good for you. It's an amazing book. And for folks who haven't read it, you better get it because you're going to want to read it after this episode. Without further ado, Matt, introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Matt, like you said, and
Yes.
my pen name is M.A. Wardell, and I write uh queer, spicy rom-coms and romance. And most people have know me best for Teacher of the Year, which is part of a series called Teachers in Love that has three books that are, well, it'll be four books soon that will all be out. And yeah, that's me. I mean, that's the short version.
I love that version. Jay, you want to introduce yourself a little bit too?
Hey everybody, it's Jay, Black underscore Boys Reads on Instagram. Um, I guess wannabe influencer. I'm getting there. But in my community here in the DFW area, I get to partner with Who's Books, which is a local indie bookstore here, where I get to moderate conversations with authors, lead book clubs, and do some good work around literary advocacy in my community. And so I'm excited to be in conversation with MA today because we were just together on Monday, and we can talk more about all the things. As I mentioned earlier, when I first started reading smut romance, spicy romance, as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
Teacher of the Year was the first book that I read, and I have been sucked in forever.
For sure. Listeners who are watching on YouTube, you're going to see the visuals, and that's my cat. But this is my copy of Teacher of the Year. It is a special edition. For folks who aren't looking at the visuals or just listening, it is two men holding each other, and one is wearing like a sweater and a pink hat, and they're under a canopy of trees, and it's like pinky hues behind them. And it's gorgeous.
And I don't know if you noticed, but if you look up the stairs, that's the school.
It's so cute. I tried to match my shirt with the book because I was like, I hope they notice. But yes, I read Teacher of the Year. My partner got me this copy, and it was just like it was that love story I guess I was looking for. I was like, it has heart, it has deep moments, it has kids. For anyone who loves like Abbott Elementary, specifically, there's a specific character in Abbott Elementary where I was like, I just need him to find love and to be cared for. And then I found your book and I was like, oh, but spice. And I was like, I need quality spice. There is a label for this podcast for books that are spicy but still have a storyline, and I call it a hot cappuccino. It's warm and cozy, but also it's like, let's get straight to the point. Like, I'm here for the C, I'm here for the caffeine, I'm here for the D. So I'm lesbian. I'm never here for the D. But in this situation, I was here for it. I was like, yeah, I'll take some. I guess I'll be here for you. So I was like, this is great. Visitors pass, let's go. So it was actually super fun reading your book. I was like, I like it here. This is a cool space. Love y'all. I did want to know, while writing Teacher of the Year, did you have a vision of the characters in your mind? Like, did you kind of know where you wanted the story to go, or was it kind of like as you wrote the story kind of unraveled for you?
So I it sounds a little bit like what you're asking is if I'm like in author spaces, they'll say, are
Mm-hmm.
you a pantser or a plotter? Like, do you just like write and see what happens, or do you
Mm-hmm.
actually like plan the book?
Absolutely.
I do a little bit of both. So I do plan before I start writing a book. So like when I sat down to write Teacher of the Year, I knew the general arc of what was going to happen. Like I knew I plan out all the beats is what we call it, like in romance, right? And then so it's kind of like an outline, but it's very vague. Like it's not super
Mm.
specific. And then when I'm writing the book, usually what happens is things change. Like as I start writing and I get to know the characters a little bit better, and I see like what they want and what they, because until you start writing the book, you don't really know that as much. And
Mm-hmm.
so while I'm writing the book, I'm like, oh, maybe this is going to change, or maybe that's going to change. And so Teacher of the Year is my first book. It's the first book I ever wrote.
Wow.
And when I wrote that book, I didn't know that much about writing because it was my first book. And so I was taking classes and learning and I ended up working with it's someone that we call a developmental editor. So it's like this person and the woman that I used, her name is Amy Spalding. She's actually a sapphic rom-com writer and she's really fun and cool and a cool person. But what she does is so she read the book and then she was like, this is great, but here are all the things that maybe you might want to think about and
Ooh.
change and things like that. And so, like, here's one little fun fact that I will tell you.
Mhm.
I don't know if I ever told anyone this. It's like because it's kind of embarrassing that I did it, but it doesn't matter because I fixed it before I put the book out. So
Okay.
in the first version of the book, Isabella, who's Olen's ex-wife, who kind of like comes in at the end of the book,
Mhm.
she was kind of written like a villain, like she was like the bad guy kind of. And Amy, who's the woman who helped me, she was like, we don't love like making women the villain and like the evil ex-wife is like such it's like
Mm.
kind of like a tired trope. And she's like, wouldn't it be more interesting if if he thought she was going to be this horrible person because it's the ex-wife, and then she came in and she was actually like really nice. And I was like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, that would be. And she's like, so the conflict is internal. It's all like
Mm.
about, and I was like, you're right. So that was like something that I changed during my revision process. And then this is like a little bit of a spoiler, but not like a huge one. So then in Husband of the Year, which is basically like the sequel to Teacher of the Year, she is actually, she has a much bigger part in the book. And part of the story of Husband of the Year is the way like queer people make their own families, right? Like
Mm.
and not always conventionally. And so part of that journey in Husband of the Year is Marvin and Isabella's relationship and the way that they are all co-parenting this little girl together. And this is a spoiler, but it's not a big one because you find
Okay.
out like the first chapter of the book. So Husband of the Year takes place 2 years later, and in that time she has moved to Portland so that she can be closer to her daughter and them. And so a lot of the book is about Marvin and her actually, and like them navigating becoming family in a new kind of way as he prepares to become the new a stepfather to her daughter. And that was so anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. I'm
No,
telling you all.
I loved it. Just keep going. It's great. I'm here for it. Let's go.
So I just, so I went from having her be like almost a villain and then not a villain. And now it's like it's not even that she's not a villain. She's actually she has become Marvin's friend. And it's like a
Mm.
delicate friendship because it's his fiance, almost husband's ex-wife. Like it's a little strange, right? But they are navigating how to do that. And she ends up becoming like by the end of the book, there's like a journey with her and him as well, which was really fun to write. And it was also I think I said this to Jay on our when we talked earlier this week. Husband of the Year was a hard book to write for me. It was the hardest book I've written because when you write a romance, it doesn't matter, people say like, what tropes do you like? And, or what is all the things that people want to know about your book. But generally speaking, romance follows a formula. That's why it's so popular. That's why people love it because they know what they're going to get, right? They know they're going to have two people that fall in love and end up at the end. Like that's what it is. It's like when you go to the coffee shop to get your coffee, you get the same damn coffee every day, probably. And it's
It's
because you
true.
like it,
Yeah.
right? Like you like your whatever your order is. And so, but with Husband of the Year, it's different because it's an established couple. There's no falling in love. There's no meet cute, because they are getting married. Like they're already together. And so my challenge was how can I throw like everything at them to make it dramatic so that it's interesting, hopefully, for people to read the book. Um, but I had a lot of fun. And the other thing that a lot of people complained about, I feel like I'm repeating myself because I feel like I said all this stuff to Jay already, but one of the things that a lot of people complained about with Teacher of the Year, or well, people do complain in reviews, like they say what they don't like, is that they didn't like that it was single POV, that it's only Marvin's point of view. And they were like, I want to know more about Olin. I want to know more about Olin. And in Teacher of the Year, I didn't want you to know that much about Olin because I don't want to give it away for people who haven't read it, but there are things that you learn about him as Marvin learns them. And that's like part of the story and part of the storytelling. But now in Husband of the Year, I wanted to focus more on Olin, but I also didn't want to write his point of view because, spoiler, he's Black. And in case, I know some people are watching this and they
Mm-hmm.
can see that I'm not Black, but if you're listening, spoiler alert, I'm not Black. And, some authors, this is a whole thing, like in the author community, there are many authors who are not people of color, who
Mm-hmm.
are white, and who have like they feel comfortable doing that, and they have no problem doing that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I just don't. For me personally, it doesn't feel like the right thing to do. But I still wanted to give more of Olin's point of view. So there is a device that I use that
Hmm.
I am not directly writing his point of view, but I'll tell you, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not too much of a spoiler. Um, Without saying too much of the reason why, Olin is in a situation where he decides that he wants to write love letters, kind of like letters to Marvin. And they're long chapter length letters, almost,
Beautiful.
most of them. And so that's like kind of his point of view, but it's not technically because Marvin's the one who's getting the letter and reading it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is getting more into like what he's thinking, and there's like you learn about his family and his upbringing and his parents, and he has two brothers, and like you learn a lot more about them. One of his brothers is like kind of in the book.
Mm.
And yeah, it was a lot. It was a very emotional book to write
I'm
because
like grateful
it's
you're
a
telling me all of this. I'm like, give it to me now. You're teasing me. You're like, and it's not out
well,
yet. And I'm like,
I know it doesn't come out till November, but the thing is, it's gonna be like, I know it's already on, what's it called? Idlewise,
Otherwise,
Idlewise, which is
mm,
like, it's like NetGalley, but it's like for librarians and booksellers, I think,
yeah,
only.
libraries
But
and
I
books.
know that it will be on NetGalley, I think very soon. Like I would imagine by August, or it'll be
mm.
on NetGalley.
Yeah.
Um,
I appreciate that connection. You're like blinking. You're like, if you check in August, I'm like,
I
mm-hmm.
don't know. Well, no, I don't like they haven't told me like the
Okay.
date or anything like that.
I'm
I
gonna be
just
checking.
know, I mean, the fact that these are out means that and the fact that it's on that Edelweiss means that it's like available to be put
Mm.
on. It's just a matter of when they're going to do it. I just realized that my
Well,
zipper is not zip, but you can't see it. So this
Everything is from the waist ups. We were absolutely good. I'm wearing sweatpants right now. It is okay. It's a Thursday night. But yeah, we're trying to be cozy. Okay, this is a cozy chill podcast. But
so,
yeah,
Emily,
yeah.
I have a question.
Hmm.
And so you talk about how, can y'all hear me? We good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. And so you talked a little bit about how you didn't feel comfortable writing from Olin's perspective because he was Black. And so what I guess what I want to know a little bit is when you were thinking about, I guess, the race of the characters and all of those things, what made you kind of go that direction just to do that? Because I know the rest of the next two books after that, there's some dual point of views. So was it something that you just wanted to try, see, and then like with some justice?
Well,
You did a great job, in my opinion. You did a great job, and I know there's some other authors that I've read that have kind of written where they didn't kind of do the stereotypical things when it comes to like spice scenes. And so I know that's been always for some authors that is kind of a worry for them, is that they don't want to kind of fall into those stereotypical parts, but then they also don't want to undersell the romance piece in it as well.
Mm.
right. I mean, for me, So one of the things that is really important to me in romance, and one of the reasons why I wanted to write my own romance books, is that I 100% will say this with my full chest. I do not believe there is enough diversity in romance. Period. End of discussion. Well, it shouldn't be the end of the discussion, but like, period. Like, there's just not enough diversity. And when I say diversity, I mean all of it. Like, the obvious thing is like skin color, right? Like, romance is very white. And but then also like body type, age. For when you're talking about men, like, I know it seems like such a like a radical, like not a radical, like it seems like it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but like the fact that I have a main character in a romance that is bald, and it's like a big part of him that he has no hair, like that doesn't happen very often. Like, I can't tell you that I've ever read a romance with a bald main character. I know they exist. I'm sure they exist, but they're rare, right? And so for me, because I didn't, because I didn't want to, because I know for me personally that I didn't want to write the direct POV of a person of color. I knew this story needed to be told in a single POV because of the
Mm.
story. And so it made sense for me to have a black love interest because I wasn't going to have to write his point of view. So it was like a perfect thing. And also, spoiler alert, I think black men are fucking hot.
They
And
are.
they're, and like,
All
why
black people
are,
are hot.
and
I'm
like,
sorry, they're all.
why and like, and I have heard, many people say, like, I've heard authors say things like, well, if you put a black man on the cover, it doesn't sell as well. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's true, but that doesn't mean I'm still not gonna fucking do it. Like so I did. And my thing is, when someone tells me that I shouldn't do something because it doesn't sell, then for me, I take that as a challenge. I say, oh, you think people don't want to read about black men and romance? Let me write the most fucking amazing black man that you have ever read, and let's see if people want to read about him. And then I did, and they do. So I take it as a challenge, like, oh, let me show you. And guess what? I'm gonna put him on the cover too. I mean, not a photograph, because I wanted illustrated covers. So, but that was part of the reason, because I was like, I want a cover with an interracial couple that looks a certain way. I was like, I'm not gonna find that in stock photography or that kind of thing. So I'm like, I'll just have I'll have it be illustrated. But um, I will also say that, and I think most authors do this, but I don't know if every reader like understands the process. So, like for me, when I wrote Teacher of the Year, I actually had the same person. I hired a sensitivity reader who, um, I don't know how to explain what she did for me. Like, it wasn't like I wrote the book and I gave it to her and then she just like, it was like the whole time I was writing, I was sending her things and asking her questions. And she was really guiding me because I said to her, I was like, this was with the first book when I didn't really know. I had just met her and hired her. I was like, I can't mess this up. Like, I can't write a book with a black love interest and then write racist shit in it. Like, even though that's not my intention, you could still do it, right? And so she and I told her, I said, you have to be honest with me. Like, this isn't a time to be nice, right? Like, this is a time to be honest. And she was. And I mean, I won't tell you all the things I did wrong because it's embarrassing, but I messed up. Like, I wrote some stuff in there that she was like, you can't say this, you can't say that, you're doing this, you're doing that.
Mm.
You need to pull back on this. You're focusing too much on that. We don't use these types of words to describe skin color. Like,
Mm.
she read me to filth. But you know what? It helped the book. And so, like, as an author, I look at that feedback as I want my book to be the best book it can be. The
Mm.
last thing any author wants, I think, or like most authors, we don't want to offend people. Like, I want people to feel seen and like
Mm.
my book. I don't want them to be offended by it. And so she was amazing. And then when I got to Husband of the Year, it was almost more, and I don't want to say too, because I don't want to spoil the story, but because it has so much more to do with Olin and his family, and there's a lot of stuff that comes up, and there's like scenes with his family and things like that. I was like, now it's not just Olin and his little girl. Like now we got a whole family. Like, and so it's like,
Mm.
it's like a Black family, and and I want to make sure that I'm, and she again. And so I actually, in the acknowledgments in the back of Husband of the Year, I didn't just like thank her. I like wrote a little bit about like this book wouldn't be what it is without her help. Like she really, really helped me a lot. And it takes time and money because you have to pay them too. Like people have deserve to be paid for their, you know,
Yeah.
labor.
I think it's amazing that you were able to take a step back, especially from this is your baby, like this is your creative work, and you were able to take a step back and be like, I want to prioritize my love interests, and I want them to feel seen, and I want them to feel fleshed out. You could have easily been like, hey, this is my book, these are my words, and I'm going to do what I want. But you were really compassionate, and you considered the characters you were building, you considered your readers, and you considered the importance of representation and the importance
My
of
thing is,
work. That's
when
amazing.
whenever I have someone in my book who is not exactly like me, so like Olin is Black. In my second book, I have a plus size character.
Mm-hmm.
In the third book, I have a bald character and an older character. My thing is like the thought of like a Black person or a plus size person or a bald person or whatever, fill in the blank, reading my book and like finding it offensive
Yeah.
mortifies me. Now,
Mm.
I will also say, look at this is all crooked. I gotta fix that. It's ugly. Um, I will also say, like, like Black people are not a monolith, right? Like,
Right.
not every Black person is the same way. So it's more about having the guidance of someone or like plus size people to say like in general we don't say this or we wouldn't
Mm.
say that or no we don't like. And I will tell you, like, for my second book, which is the holiday book, and that one of the characters is a bigger guy, I had three plus size sensitivity readers. And here's what was so interesting: each one of them had different feedback. Like there would be one of them would say, "Well, I don't think you shouldn't say this or you shouldn't do that." But the other two had no problem with it, but they had
Mm.
problems with other things. And anything one said, don't do, I didn't do. And I'll tell you, like, again, if you're not, I would argue, even if you are a member of like, even if you were like a plus size person, it might not be a bad idea to get like another plus size person. Because
Mm.
because what I learned is like what bothers one person doesn't bother someone else. And so you
That's
have to
true.
kind of like almost like, this is like such a nerdy thing to say, but like triangulate your data, and
You're really giving me PTSD right now because I'm in the middle of writing a dissertation.
You said I'm gonna need you to research that. Cite it. Can you cite it? Can you APA cite it for me? And it's like getting flashback. Both of us being in college. God, war
but
flashbacks. Yeah,
you have to do this, what you have to do. But
that's
like
true.
and this, as far as the spice, you know, it's so interesting to me because the feedback I get so much, especially from gay men, is like that my spice hits different. And I think
Hmm.
part, I think that some of it is I I can't speak for anyone else. Like I can't speak for other authors. Or I don't know what anyone else does. But for me, when I sit down and I when I think about the spice in my books, it's always about the character and the story. It's
Mm.
always about how is this spice helping these characters know themselves better and also know each other better? So like if you think about Teacher of the Year, I was like, how is this how is Marvin learning more about himself through like being intimate with Olin? And then how's he learning about Olin as
Mm-hmm.
well? And then how is it like pushing the story forward? And
Mm.
and one of the things that I always think about is like, how does it make them feel, right? Like, and I don't mean like I mean, yes, partly I mean like the physical sensation, like you have that's what spice is, like it
Yeah.
feels good, right? But how does it make their like how do they feel on the inside? Like, like when you're being intimate with someone, like how do you feel like on the inside? Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
feel like vulnerable? Or are you feeling like, oh my God, like my world is shattered, is like, quaking in like a good way. Like there's, like
Yes.
that's what it's about. And
Well,
I will say it's interesting because I was actually talking to my husband about this earlier, that the more books I write, the more I'm like, okay, how am I going to make the spice different? Like,
Right.
no, people don't want to read the same spice over and over and over again.
That's
And
true.
I'm like, wow, this is, and you have to get a little creative.
I have heard a few authors mention that where it's like every book they write has a different spicy,
Same.
maybe a kink or a different thing that they're
Yes.
exploring, and they have to do research about what that thing they're exploring in the book, because maybe the author themselves is like, I'm not writing from experience, I'm writing a specific thing I wanted to explore spicy wise in this book. So they end up doing research, or they go to there's actually conferences where they teach you for authors, they teach you about certain intimacy things. You can include them in your book, and then the people within this industry are able to show you, like, this is the safe way that this would be done in real life, and this is how we would like it to be depicted in your books, or in books if you do decide to write and explore that. I think there was an event. I think it's SmutCon. Don't quote me on that. I haven't been yet. I want to go, but they teach you about certain things. So when you find books about them, authors attend. They're like, hey, my book has this spicy thing. I did a lot of research. This is, a fun way to explore that without, if you're not sure if you're ready to explore that in real life yet. But I do like how you said that your characters are experiencing not only the physical, but how this makes them feel. I haven't read a book that has spice written in it that is so intimate and is so vulnerable. Like, it didn't feel like it was just like, hey, no story, just straight to like pound town. I'm like sitting here, I'm like, no, your book gave me heart. It made me want to cuddle and love them and give them coffee after I have a conversation. Like, it was very, respectful. And I liked that. It was nice.
and I think
Yeah.
what she did, oftentimes when I think about Teacher of the Year, napkins and other distractions, and Mr. Toy Mischief, is that like, yes, the spice is spicy. So if y'all haven't
Mm-hmm.
read it, yes, the spice does spice. But I also leave your books often wanting more from that universe and more from those characters. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I leave spicy books, oftentimes I'm like, okay, we're sunsetting. I know we're never coming back to this universe. I'm great. This is fun. But with yours, like, I wanted to know more. So when I saw Husband of the Year was up, I was like, yes. And so that's same with our mutual person that author that we like, Kit. Like, I want to be in that universe often, and I want to be in you and her universe very often, because I'm like, these characters are real people. They are not just sex sirens or
Mm-hmm.
anything. Like, there's some depth and some things to these characters. In napkins and other distractions, we have someone that has OCD, and so like we're learning things as we're reading, that makes you want to come back to this universe, revisit this universe often, because it's not just about the spice. Like, these characters that I think oftentimes, when we read spice, some characters don't have depth. The characters in your book do have depth. Like, they're more than just, we're here to have a little meet cute. We're gonna have sex, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll have a third act breakup here, and then we'll get back together with no
Yeah.
real resolution. And so that's why I love coming back into the Teachers in Love series in that universe often.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, for me, I feel like it's so funny. Like, no matter how spicy I think the books are, like, I think Napkins is the spiciest book I've ever written. Like, I don't know that I'll even ever write a book spicier than that. It has a lot, the quantity of the spice. But that book, it kind of fit because of what those characters were going through. So
Mm-hmm.
I put this book out and I was like, oh my gosh, this book is gonna just like burn people's, underwear off or whatever. And then the people read it and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet. I was like, what? What?
Because it was, but then also too,
I
like,
know.
I think
It
with
is.
napkins, because of the position being aside, like, there was there were some creative things that you as the author had to do in order to like dictate that positioning, because that's not a well known position for people that's outside of that community. And so, like, if you're coming into this world, like, you don't know what a side is, and like people even in the community still don't know what a side
Well,
is.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I had like heard the term, but like I wasn't like super familiar with it. And then when I was developing the book, I was like thinking about this character and I was like, wait a minute, it would make sense for this character to be a side. And so then I had to do a lot of research. And so then to know enough to write about it. And then what I decided was in the book, the other main character doesn't know what it is. Like he's never heard of this
Mm.
before. So as he's learning about it, the reader is learning about it as well. And honestly, I was learning about it. I mean, I had to
I
learn about
took
it
it.
before.
When I first learned about it, I was like, "Oh, y'all just saying oral only," because that's really like in a
It's
sense.
not oral
And
only.
I was like, and so until I like really like you did research, I was like, "Oh, not oral only. It's just everything but that, everything but actual penetration."
I think also books, and this has come up a few times in the podcast, is that there was an author who I had come on, Evie Mitchell, and she writes about disabilities a lot in her books as well. And she does a lot of research and she discusses chronic pain and how that would kind of how it would create a certain level of intimacy and honesty and moments of vulnerability in books. So when she writes about spicy scenes that have someone who has a disability or may be curvy or may not want to be touched in certain areas, and there's like layers to it, the spice isn't just about the physical. It really is circling back to what Matt said. How does this like genuinely emotionally make you feel? And that when people say like, oh, you know, a spicy scene is sweet, for me, intimacy in books is like it's a secret language. You're creating something between you and your partner or the people you may be exploring with at that time, and you guys are navigating what exactly you want to do and what exactly you would like done to you. So in that
And
situation,
that
I love
and that's
that.
another, I mean, that's another thing that I people comment a lot on the spice of my books about this, and in a way it's a compliment, but I'm like, this should be in more books. Like this should not just
Mhm.
be like something in my books. My characters, they communicate a lot, like about just like what you were saying, like what do you like, what do you not like. And I am called the consent king because
Hell
the other
yeah.
thing my characters do is they ask, like, is this okay, can I
Mm.
do this? And like even during the spice, like to me, the hottest thing someone can do during sex is to say, "Does this feel good?" Or like,
Mm-hmm.
"Are you enjoying? Like, does that feel good?" Like whatever that is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and apparently, it's not in a lot of books because people make a
Mm-hmm.
big deal of it in mine, and I'm like. People don't think like I think that is the hottest thing when you read it in my books when he's like is this okay or does that feel good or is it too hard or can I go deeper or like when they're like talking about it like that's what real people do like I mean or they should be talking and
Agreed.
there should be consent right like
Yeah.
um
You should be checking in
so
throughout the experience as
yes.
well to make sure like does this position make you feel good? Do you want to change positions? Do we need to take a break? Also mental health. I haven't read this in many romances, and this is actually one of the questions I was going to ask you, but we naturally got there. I rarely read in books if someone has like anxiety or they have depression or they have experiences like disassociation. I have never read it in a romance book before where someone, maybe they're early in the relationship and they're noticing their partner, even though they're enjoying the spicy time, kind of saying like, I have a tendency to maybe I have a past. I can zone out sometimes, or I have out of body experiences. Checking in books, also in real life, checking in like, hey, do you want to continue? Yes in the beginning does not necessarily mean a yes the entire time. Like you ask, you
Right.
check in. So a lot of people who read your books or read spice in general or romance in general, I feel like it does sex ed did not end in high school. Like you're always learning, always. Intimacy, you're always learning. I think it's a gift that your books are constantly providing that. Hey, this is a spicy moment, but also this is a learning opportunity. Maybe people didn't know that there was a sexy way to check in during a
Totally.
spicy time. And I absolutely love that. I think my favorite definitely has to be like, I'm with you right now. Like, what do you need? Like, what would really bring you joy right now? What do you need? Mm, step by step, baby. Let's go. Like I'm here for instructions. But I also did want to ask you as we kind of circle towards the end of this episode. Do you have any favorite lines from your books that you would like to share? I have had a few authors who've like shared little excerpts of their books or like a line that they recall writing. They're like, oh, that really hit. Like I did my big one with that one. Do you have any lines from your books where you're like,
Oh,
I
let's
really liked what
see.
I wrote?
There's a few, like, so in Teacher of the Year, there's a line that Jill, Marvin's best friend, who's like he works with, there's a part where like he's kind of having like a crisis at the end, and he's like questioning everything, and she says to him, "Love is always enough." And I love that line. And like sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, did I write that? Oh yeah, I did. There's a line in the second book, which so in the second book, Mistletoe and Michigas, Sheldon, who is the first grade teacher, he's like more, that's another thing we don't see a ton of in gay romance. He's more of like a flamboyant, effeminate guy, which, that's like we don't want that in our gay romance. We want them all to be like straight men, that just happen to like to suck dick. But that's not how all gay men are. Like some gay, like I have friends who are like flamers, and like that's just how they are. And so anyway, he always his kind of one of his pain things in the book is that he always feels like he's too much. Like people
Mm.
think he's too much, he's too loud, he's too gay, he's too flamboyant. And he has this moment where he's like being vulnerable with Theo, who's the other main character, who's the bigger guy, and he says to him at one point, oh, and he paints his fingernails. Like that's one of the
Mm.
things that he does, and he's going to be meeting Theo's parents because they're coming for the holidays. And he's like, oh my gosh, I got to take the nail polish off and I got to change this. And what should I wear? Like, not what I would normally wear. Like, I got to, like, maybe try to butch it up. And Theo says, don't you dare change a thing. And in the context of that, oh, there goes my other cat. I love that line. Now, I will say, and I can't tell you what it is, but there is a line at the end of Husband of the Year. I'll tell you the gist of what it's about, but I won't tell you the line. Every person who has read the book has told me that they have cried when they read this line. And I cried when I wrote it, and I cried every time I read it. And when you write a book, you read it like 400 times. So it's not a spoiler to say they get married. Like
Mm.
the book ends with them getting married,
I love it.
and it's after they've gotten married and they're having like the dinner, the reception dinner. And Marvin and Alona have this little moment where she's just kind of like, she's been wanting this for years. Like she's been waiting for her dad and Marvin to get married. And like the whole book, it's like, she's like, my dress, and can I be the flower girl? And like, how little girls are, she's like
Absolutely.
she's a typical little 7-year-old girl, and she's excited. And then it actually happens, and she's like kind of overwhelmed like about it. And so Marvin is the one who checks in on her, and they have a little
Mm.
interchange, and she says something to him that is like, it just when it it's like when it came out of my fingers, I guess, like when I wrote it, I was like, can I write that? Like I'm crying as I'm writing it. And then I'm
Oh.
like, I'm just gonna leave it and see. And like even my editor in the notes, she was like, you got me, I'm crying.
Oh. Oh my, the fact that your words evoke such emotion, like I know shit's getting real when I'm like, I'm gonna need tissues. Someone pull out
Oh,
the Kleenex.
when I had so when my husband has read this, obviously, and he's like, I don't know what they're gonna do for like the PR, the marketing, like if they're gonna do like boxes, but it should come with like one of those little packs of tissues.
Oh, that's a good idea. You said,
I will,
you know what,
I
hubby?
will say,
That's a good
I will
idea. And he
say,
was like, I have feedback.
I did just speed to that area. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's absolutely an amazing idea. Actually, that brings up a new question. Actually brings up a small mini question, if you will. Um, is your husband an inspiration for any of your love interests? Is there little characteristics about him in your stories? Is he is he
So
is he in there a little bit? I don't know. Some
I
authors
mean,
put their partners a little bit in the story, so I'm curious.
not not so I wouldn't say like not really. Like it's not like any one of like not like one of my characters like based on him or anything like that.
As we close out the episode, I would love for you to share your 5 words you would use to describe your books and what listeners should know if they're looking for your books. Like, hey, keep in mind when you read my books, this is the vibe, or this is what I'm always going for.
Okay, so my books are 5 words. They are sweet, but wait, I'm starting over. Sweet, but spicy as fuck. How about
Love that.
that?
I absolutely adore this. Yes. And where can everyone find you on social media? Where can they find your books?
The easiest thing to do is go to my website, which is just mawardell.com. And on there, at the bottom, it has all my, like Instagram and Facebook and my books. It lists all the books there and like then where to buy them and things like that.
Awesome.
Um, yeah. So just go to my
Fantastic.
website. It's just easier than like listing like a million different things.
Understood. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And Jay, where can everyone find you on social media as well?
Yes, I am only on Instagram. Y'all will never find me on the Clock app because I do not like being on camera often, but I've been coming up off the camera a lot more, in front of the camera a lot more. So you can find me on Instagram at black_boys_read. If you're in the Dallas area in Texas, you can find me at Whose Books probably all of the time because that is my third space that I spend a lot of time in.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your
Thank
love for
you.
Teacher of the Year with me. And also I saw your cat in the corner and I was like, we love cats in the podcast. We love it. Everyone, please.
And if y'all don't know, there is a cat in every book.
And you know what?
Yes.
That's a good Easter egg.
Teacher of the Year has each of the books the one of the main characters is a cat dad in each book.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? Having my little midnight here, most listeners don't know this, but he only marks things he likes. And out of all of my books, he hasn't marked all of them, but when I was reading this, he was all up on it. I'm like, yeah, ally. So
that's because he knows the cat in that is I think he's black and white. He's like he's like kind of like a tuxedo cat. But he knows there's a sweet cat in that book.
He can sense it. But yes, everyone, please check out Teacher of the Year. Check out all of Matt's books. I will have your website linked below. Like this episode on Spotify, follow, leave a nice little comment on YouTube, and follow Matt, follow Jay, and have an absolutely wonderful day.
Thank you.